Class, class, class.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Today we are going to play detectives. We will take our uniforms out. We'll put our little caps on, and we are going to get to the bottom of things. So, we are going to play detectives by using context clues to figure out what the meanings of words are. So we are going to read an assessment, and you are going to help me point out what words you think are more difficult. And from there, we will go over the words and we will try and point out context clues that will help you discover what these words mean. So I will read first. Crows are scavengers. The birds will eat almost anything from vegetables to fruits to nuts and seeds. They'll devour insects, frogs, lizards, mice, smaller birds, basically any animal they can fit into their mouths. And they'll happily pick at the flesh of carrion, which probably accounts for why ancient people associated crows with death. Crows are playful birds, very sociable with their own kind, and they live in large, extended family groups. They frequently indulge in silly games, such as carrying a twig high in the air, dropping it, and then quickly swooping down and catching it. They've also been observed executing acrobatic flips in flight. Though few species of crows migrate, very often during the fall and winter months, the birds will congregate in large groups known as roosts. These roosts may range from a few dozen crows to hundreds of thousands. One astonishingly large roost recorded in Oklahoma was estimated at over 2 million crows. Exactly why they gather in such large groups remains a mystery, though researchers suspect that the birds congregate for protection against predators, as well as to communicate with one another and exchange information about where to find food. Nearly all ornithologists, from the Greek word for or words ornis, bird, and the logos, explanation, agree that crows are vastly intelligent creatures with large brains in relation to their body size. Their intelligence is nearly the top of the avian world, alongside that of parrots. Their brains, at least in scale, are larger than human brains. A human brain is about 0.5% of body mass, while the brains of an American crow is more than 2% of its body mass. And like us, crows are tool makers. For example, they'll use straight twigs to poke for grubs, and then use a hooked twig to plug the grub from its hiding place. Crows often drop nuts onto the roads and rocky surfaces to crack them open. In Japan, the clever birds deposit walnuts at intersections, placing the nuts right in front of the wheel of a car. And then after the car crushes the nut, the crow returns to pack it to pieces. So, being able to use context clues to decide unknown words makes you an efficient reader and a good detective. So, can you determine how context clues are useful in reading?
They're useful because you can look back on it.
Yes, and they help you figure out what words mean. So, you may be asking yourself, what are context clues? Context clues are hints found within a sentence or a paragraph or a passage that you are reading that you can use to understand the meaning of a word. Like, let's say you are confused about the word avian. Avian avian is found in a sentence that says, their intelligence is near the top of the avian world, alongside that of parrots. So that sentence might also inform you that parrots are of an avian variety. And what do parrots and crows have in common?
They're birds.
Exactly. So avian means relating to birds. So raise your hand if you ever run across words that you do not understand in reading. Nice. And do you ever use context clues to figure out what those words might mean?
Yes.
Okay. So can you identify any words in this passage that maybe you did not understand? Congregate. So, though few species of crows migrate, very often during the fall and winter months, the birds will congregate in large groups known as roosts. So, we can see that they're congregating in large groups, which sort of could let you know that birds are coming together. They are joining together and staying together. So, I am going to rather put the vocabulary words from here onto the board, and we will then use those words to create a matching game. So here we have words like scavengers, extended, executing, congregate, avian, intersection, migrate, indulge, swooping, and astonishing. These are our vocab words for the week. And these are their definitions. So I would like you to take out the flashcards that I have given you, and if you could write on each card one of the words and then one of the definitions. We will be using these cards to make our own matching game. So I'll go through the words as you write them out. We have scavengers, which are animals that feed on carrion, dead plant material, or refuse. Extended, which is to make larger or to enlarge. Executing, carrying out or putting into effect. Congregate means to gather into a crowd or a mass. Avian is relating to birds. An intersection is a point in which two or more things intersect. This is especially relevant in roads. Migrate means to move from one region or habitat to another depending on the seasons. Indulge is to allow oneself the pleasure of something. So like people oftentimes will indulge in candy, especially today being Valentine's Day. Swooping, it's when something will move rapidly downward in the air, usually like a whoosh. And then astonishing is something that's extremely surprising, impressive, or amazing. These words are all incredibly important to literature. Alrighty, so now we are going to try and take those words and play a matching game with them.
Oh, we're gonna.
So, do you think that using context clues may help you match these words to their definitions?
Yes.
Like using the assessment that we're given to read through? Nice. So, if you could actually bring those cards forward, and I will hand you I will hand you a sheet and you will go through and match the definitions with the word in which they belong. But one moment, and I will switch this. So here are the words that is on your sheet, and you will just take a pen and mark which word goes to which definition. Good job. Nicely done, Itzel. So, detectives, how do you think we did today?
I think we did great.
And do you think we could apply our knowledge of context clues and figurative language, word relationships, and everything to figure out the definitions of words and phrases?
Yes.
Alrighty. And do you want to have to haul out a dictionary every time you're concerned about the meaning of a word?
No.
So do you think that using context clues is easier than using the dictionary? I think so too. Although a dictionary is a valued resource and very helpful, it is oftentimes more mentally stimulating to use context clues to figure out a word instead of just giving yourself the answer. So can you recall why context clues are important?
Because it is important to reference back instead of always having to carry around a dictionary.
Yes. And I am happy that you were able to learn a little bit more about using clues to be a detective and figure out the meanings of words. All right, off to recess, guys.